Assalamu alaikum students. Today I've got a very interesting topic, and that is sentences, the workhorses of your brain. The title suggests that effective sentences bring power to your writing. It also means that you really need to work hard on polishing your sentences up. Now, before I go ahead with the topic, I would like you guys to have a look at the learning outcomes of this lecture. By the end of the lecture, you will be able to identify those sentences in your writing. You will also be able to write clear and better sentences. There are 11 ways to write better sentences, and the first one is put the most important element at the end of the sentence. Let's have a look at the example here. The original sentence says we applied for credit on April 5, whereas the revised sentence says on April 5 we applied for credit. Students, over here, you can note that we applied for credit in the revised sentence has been put at the end. Now, this is because the writer believes that we applied for credit is the most important element, so it is to be put at the end of the sentence. Students, when you are writing your sentences, you also need to determine the most important element in your sentences and try to put that element at the end of the sentence or sentences. This is because in English, what comes at the end of the sentence gets the emphasis. So for the sake of emphasis, actually you put the most important element at the end of the sentence. Now let's have a look at another way. Okay, let me erase it first. Okay. Another way is to use simple strong English, because simple strong English makes your sentences more powerful. If you look at the example over here, the original sentence says, although our application for credit was denied, we were encouraged to make cash purchases. Now we can see over here that this sentence begins with a subordinator, that is although, and the phrase and the clause, although our application for credit was denied, is a dependent clause, whereas the clause we were encouraged to make cash purchases is an independent clause. Now this means this sentence is a complex sentence. Now if you look at the second sentence, the revised one, it says our application for credit was denied, but we were encouraged to make cash purchases. This sentence is comprised of two clauses. The first clause is an independent clause, whereas the second clause is also an independent clause. And these two clauses have been joined with the conjunction but. Now this means this is a compound sentence. Now the question arises that why the writer has chosen to revise his message using a compound sentence. This is because he has actually preferred to use simple strong English, because simple strong English makes his sentences more powerful. Students, you really have to make your readers at ease when you're composing your message. So if you have a simpler alternative, you should go for that. Now let's have a look at the third way. This third way is use short dramatic sentences. And let me tell you the role of short dramatic sentences. Short dramatic sentences are used for the ideas which you want to highlight, which you want to put emphasis on. So this means that your text should not have short sentences throughout. You need to use short sentences only where you believe that a particular idea is required to be highlighted. Now let's have a look at the example here. To be effective, you cannot revise dogmas, you must smash them. Now this is the original sentence and it is comprised of two clauses. Now in the revised version, the writer has put these ideas into two short sentences to create an effect of, to create a dramatic effect, right? You do not revise dogmas, full stop, you smash them. Now here we can see that these two ideas are being emphasized in two separate short sentences. So you can use short sentences only where you want to put emphasis, and most likely they are to be used in persuasive messages. The fourth way is, whenever possible, put in a name. Now, this actually suggests that you have to be specific. Wherever there is a doer of an action, you must mention. Now, let's have a look at the original sentence. The original sentence says a touchdown was scored in the fourth quarter. Now, we can see that this original sentence has been written in passive voice, whereas the revised sentence has been written in active voice. As we can see over here, a touchdown was scored. Here, the subject is receiving action, right? So this means it is a passive voice. And whereas in the revised sentence, we can see Ali scored a touchdown. Here we can see the subject is the doer of an action. This means it is active voice. Now, why has writer decided to use active voice in the revised sentence? Because he wants to put in a name, he wants to mention the doer of the action. So wherever possible, try to use active voice. Otherwise, there are certain contexts or situations where you're bound to use passive voice, and I will definitely talk about those situations in one of my lectures. Okay. Let's go ahead now. Okay, let me erase the marks first. All right. Now, the fifth way is to be specific. Let's have a look at the example over here. The original sentence says, "Congratulations on your recent honor." Now, we can see over here which honor is being referred to is not has not been specified, is not mentioned over here. This means this is vague. The reader, the listener doesn't know which recent honor is being talked about. It is possible the person who is being communicated, right, may have more than one honor, or more than 2-3 honors. Okay, so in that way, in that case, the person would not be able to figure out that which honor is being referred to. So this is quite ambiguous. Now, in the revised sentence, the writer has actually made it specific, and he is telling us that the honor is actually the top sales award. Now, this is exactly what you need to do when you are writing your compositions or messages. You have to be concrete. The information, it should be specific. You must make sure that the reader doesn't have anything to ask again, or he doesn't have to write you back to ask about things because your message was vague or ambiguous. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the sixth way. The sixth way says that dashes make your point more emphatic. Let's have a look at the example over here. The original sentence says we have a primary need, comma, cash. We can see over here that the writer has separated cash from the rest of the sentence, and this is because the writer wants to put emphasis on the word cash. Now, the suggestion is that where you want to put emphasis on a particular word within a sentence, it's better you use colon instead of a comma. If you look at the second sentence, the original sentence says you are not allowed to make one thing, comma, excuses. Once again, the writer has used comma to separate excuses from the rest of the sentence. Now, the suggestion is that instead of comma, it's better that you use a dash, because dashes or colons make a point more emphatic. The seventh way says that use bullets because they make items stand out. If you look at the example over here, it says Visa Gold offers everything you want in a credit card, including a 9.9% rate, comma, no annual fee, comma, and immediate cash advance, comma, no transaction fees. Students, we can see over here that the writer has listed a series of items using commas in this sentence. Now, the suggestion is that instead of using commas to list a series of items, it's better that you list down the items using bullets, because bullets actually make items stand out. So this is one of the ways to improve the readability of your message, because the items, they really stand out when they are put in using bullets. The eighth way is eliminate there is and there are. Let's have a look at the example over here. The original sentence says there are many brave people who travel the Oregon Trail. Now, if we look at the revised sentence, in the revised sentence, we can see that there are has been removed, and it says many brave people travel the Oregon Trail. Now, we can see over here there are has been removed. Still, the meaning is the same. This means that in the original sentence, there are was not adding anything to the message or to the information. It was redundant, and that's why in the revised sentence the writer has removed it. Now this means you got to avoid use of there is and there are, because these expressions actually do not add to any information, right? Or they do not add any information to your message. So they have to be avoided. They are redundant, and it's better that you avoid them if you want to write your message concisely. The ninth point says, watch your adverbs. Now let's have a look at the examples. Over here, the original sentence says she is currently living in New York. This word currently is an adverb. Now in the revised sentence, the writer has actually removed currently, and this sentence says she is living in New York. Once again, students, we can see that after having moved the word currently, the writer is able to convey the same. There is no difference in terms of meaning. So why to include adverbs, in the situation where the adverbs are not adding to anything? That means they're not adding any information in the message or to the message. Now, another sentence is he is clearly incompetent. Once again, in the revised sentence, the writer has removed the adverb clearly, and we can see that there is no difference in meaning, because whether you say he is clearly incompetent or you say he is incompetent, it stands for the same meaning, or it gives the same meaning. The 10th way is we know, please spare us. Now, this is really something interesting. Let's have a look at examples here. Blue in color, square in shape, small in size. This is clear, students, that blue is a color, so we don't need to write blue in color. Square is a shape, we don't need to write square in shape, right? Small is a size, and we don't need to say small in size. Now that's why in the revised message, right, writer has used blue, square, and small. 11th point is again about the redundancy, the extra, use of extra words. Okay, if we look at the examples here, they are hot water heater, final conclusion, fast jet, round wheel. All are redundant because wheel is round, it is usually round. Jet is usually fast. Conclusion is always final, and heater is always hot, right? So that's why in the revised message, the writer has used just heater, conclusion, jet, and I hope your students, you have understood these 11 ways to write better sentences. There are some more which I will talk about later in one of my lectures. Now you can see the name of the book. under the reference section. I have taken most of the material from this book. Now let's talk about the activity you need to do. It says applying the ways of writing better sentences where appropriate, or you see shortcomings, rewrite the following text. So what you have to do is that you have to spot out the loose sentences and then improve those sentences applying the ways of writing which we have discussed today. Once you're done with that, you rewrite the text. Students, I'll upload a suggested, answer, right, to this activity or this question. And in one of my recorded lecture, inshallah, very soon. And I hope that you're fine. Keep on putting lots of efforts into this course, okay? And stay blessed, stay at home or stay home. Have a nice time. Allah Hafiz.